about it is appealing. Everything that traffic will allow. Nowhere could you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people.
Welcome back. I'm Michael Ray. You're listening to thought-provoking talk on Dresser After Dark.
Yesterday they told you you would not go far. That night you open and there you are.
Screenwriter for 17 years, our guest TRACEY JACKSON has written and sold films to all the major studios. Her most recent writing credits include Confessions of a Shopaholic and Lucky Ducks, a feature-length documentary that she's also produced and directed. She blogs on her own website, TRACEYJacksonOnline.com, and for the Huffington Post. Her latest book is Between a Rock and a Hot Place, Why 50 is Not the New 30. TRACEY, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and thank you so much for being here. I got this whole picture going on. You go to sleep one night and you're 49 years old. You wake up in the morning and now you're 50. You got a whole transition here. You're not the same person anymore, and it's almost like a brand new life in front of you. Is that kind of how it goes?
I'm not quite sure it's an overnight thing.
Yeah.
At all. I think, and actually, I say that 50 is, I give it a real elastic band there. I say it's 47 to 60.
Ah, okay.
So I don't think of it as, okay, yeah, we go to sleep and now we're 50 and the whole world has completely got a new look to it.
Yeah.
But I do think...
Even this other person now.
Well, I don't know that anyone... it's very interesting because I talk to a lot of people about this, obviously, throughout the course of my work, and everyone says the same thing, but I feel like exactly I'm the same person inside, but everyone looks at me differently, or the world treats me differently, or when I look in the mirror, I see a different person. But it doesn't in any way connect to that person. And almost everyone says at the same time, somewhere between 17 and 25. That's who I still am on the interior. 50, 60, whatever the age may be. And
I'm more like 11 to 14.
Yeah, I feel around 12.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't think any of us wake up overnight and just say, 50. But I do think that the world and a lot of things that start happening to us at 50.
No, by the way, a man at 50 is supposed to be, a mature kind of guy. I'm being nice about it.
Yeah.
But now a woman at 50 is a whole other definition, isn't it?
Well, I think you guys get a big leg up on us. There's no question. I think that certainly you're in the game of having children longer, so that adds a certain amount of years to just your viability on the market. Is, let's say, as someone who's dating, if you're out of a marriage or lost a spouse or something, women do have a shelf life in terms of reproduction, as we all know.
Sure.
And I think men are physically allowed. There's no question that men are physically allowed to age in ways that women are not.
True.
Certainly by society's standards. So you can see a Clint Eastwood, let's say, as a star of a film, but you won't see a Jane Fonda. She might be in the third role, but you won't see her as a star of the film.
That makes sense.
So I do think that we allow in this country our men to age, and we look to older men as they have a certain appeal, and I don't think that that's always the case with women. Not that I think women are dried up and in the dumpster by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that there is a double standard at play. And
by the way, I agree with that. I've never thought about it until you had mentioned it, but I agree with that, and it's got nothing to do with feminism and whatever. We are talking about a culture that this was created and it existed. I didn't think about that. Eastwood at 80 years old is still can still go out there and be lover boy on the screen.
Totally, and women will block. I think he's married to like a 36-year-old woman. Yeah, and I don't think, and society hasn't changed. That's been going on since forever. I think what's gotten confusing a little bit for people is with the whole 50 is the new 30. Is while people do look younger, women look younger. I compare myself in the book to my grandmother at 50. Which is night and day. Probably if you think about your grandfather compared to the way you look today is very different.
Yeah, but see, when we get down to this, I happen to be older than that. And I wouldn't want to be with a woman who's 36 years old. What are you going to talk about? And when I say what are you going to talk about, yes, maybe what's going on now today in the culture, but there's not that common bond. There's not that history that you saw in the society growing up. And how many things do you have in common?
A lot of men feel that way, and I found that in the book. I'm happily married, but I did go on because I know a lot of women who are in their 50s who complain that there are no good men out there. The truth is, women complain, I think, at any age.
There's no good men out there.
There's no good men out there. It seems to be a complaint that women utter for years.
Sure.
But I do think they utter it more loudly and with more vigor in their 50s. And when I went, I decided, well, the only way I would find out and I would be able to write about it is if I went on Match.com, which seems to be the way all my friends who are single are finding people.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yes, there are men out there like yourself who, if they are looking, a lot of men do want women their own age. They want women who have the same cultural references. They want women oftentimes who don't want to have a child. Some friends, I have friends who are 65 years old, they have babies, and I have friends who are 56 years old, and the last thing in the world they want is to go raising another group of children. So
sure,
they want to be able to talk about the same music,
but did you get
the same TV shows? Absolutely. They want to grow old with someone their age.
Did you get the truth out of Match.com? The information that you got?
Yeah, I mean, the people that connected to me, I didn't actually date anybody, but I did talk to people. The people, what I really wanted to see was, if I was out there today single on the market, what would my chances as a 50-year-old woman be?
No, and that makes sense also. You know, when we really come down to it, how many people are going to tell the truth about their age anyway? Right,
so I said I was told them my age.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, sure, if you tell someone you're 35 and then they go, oh, okay, and they come knocking on the door and they say you're not.
They say, you know, is your daughter here? Yeah.
Certainly a lot of people do that. I didn't. So the responses I got were from people who wanted somebody in their 50s. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been responding to me. So what I tell women is, you know, if you and your single friends go, let's say, to TGIFs on a Friday night, all dressed up, there's a very good chance you're probably not going to get a lot of guys there looking your way in your 50s. But if you do go online or you do put yourself in positions where there are men who want women your age, there are plenty of people, just like you said you'd be looking for someone your age if you were looking, out there who do. So I think this is part of the delusion. You can't tell yourself you're 30. You can't get dressed up on a Friday night, go prancing around town, and think it's going to be just like it was when you were 30.
So I think
it's very different. Doesn't mean it's all over by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It just means it's different.
Tracy, when you really come down to it, you know, and then you get to a certain age, you begin to look at relationship different. You begin to look at, you know, if you're a man, you look at women different and vice versa. And then you get to realize that I don't care how you dress, what kind of a body you've got, when it really comes down to it, we're going to see beauty in many different ways, and you can't dress for it. There's going to be some kind of a something around you that somebody's going to experience. And then that's really where it is. And you could say, here, try this. Here goes, Radio Susie's going to fall down on this one, because here goes the example again. Ask me if I'm good looking. Go ahead.
Are you good looking?
Funny you should ask that. No, no, absolutely. And if you don't think so, somebody else will. If I could get 5 women, if I have the ability to do what I'm going to say, if I could have 5 women look at me and I could go behind each one and look through their eyes to see me, I would see 5 different Michael Rays. And some of them I'd be absolutely gorgeous, and some of them I'd be the worst thing that ever happened to anybody. You can't please everybody. But somebody's going to look at you and think you're the most wonderful looking thing in the world. It's going to happen. Others aren't. And when we really start to understand that, we don't have to be rejected because somebody didn't like us the way we looked.
I totally agree with you, Michael. And I think I have a friend who's a psychologist in L.A. who says, if you like what I am, you're going to like, I do me really well, and you're going to like me. And I think, I know women who are 35 and can't get a date, and I know women who are 65 and have 3 different men beating at their door. So I do think there's an enormous amount of what you present to the public, not just what you present, but the essence of who you are, the energy you give out, the enthusiasm you give out, the positive attitude you give out. I think that counts for an enormous amount.
Oh, sure. And Tracy, the other thing, too, I've interviewed, I can't tell you, countless authors over the years, and whether it's fact, fun, fiction, fantasy, usually there comes that part in the book when they've done their research, they're doing whatever they're doing, they look into it, and there's this aha moment. There is this epiphany moment when you realize a dimension of the subject matter that you weren't even aware of before you started. Where was that for you? I
think in terms, well, because this is a memoir primarily, it's a hybrid of memoir self-help. I think I wasn't aware of the mixed signals being, not even mixed signals, the very clear signals, until I started delving into it, being sent to us by society. I knew my own experiences, Michael, obviously. I knew what it felt like to go through menopause. I knew what it felt like to have my best friend die. I knew, and this is a funny book, as I want you to read, and as you read it, I mean, it's a comedic book. My portrayals are all comedic. I knew what I was experiencing as a woman in the workforce and what have you. But when I started looking into it more sociologically in certain places, the messages that are being sent to us as boomers, we're the biggest demographic, as you know, there are in the country.
Sure.
We have the most buying power. We have we're the most everything at this point, except when you look at what is being marketed to us or what's being told to us. On one hand, there's this delusional phrase, 50 is the new 30. On the other hand, do you see people in their 50s and 60s buying refrigerators on TV, cars, blue jeans, sneakers? The only thing that is being sold to us at a certain age is medicine, which was never the case in our youth. So there was this section in the book where I started going through, and it's one of my favorite sections. It's pretty funny. When I started going through all the commercials that I remember as I was growing up, Charlie says, "Love my good and plenty," not another heart attack could be lurking, or in the valley of the Jolly Yo-Ho-Ho Green Giant, and not Celexa or Cymbalta for your depression. Everything that's marketed to us now is kind of reinforcing this frail, sickly, you're getting older.
Oh, sure. And by the way, once they market it, you can guarantee that 2 years later, there's going to be an attorney marketing how you're going to make money because that particular medicine had caused you some kind of harm.
There's no question. And I found this out when I was, and maybe it was an aha moment in that sense, certainly from what society is saying to us, was when I found out that when they first started allowing these commercials on TV, which if you remember, because they were never on TV. Well, cigarette ads are off now, but you used to have cigarette ads on TV. It was the year before the first crop of boomers turned 50. In 95 was the year they passed the law that said, okay, now you can advertise prescription medication on television. So they realized there was this enormous group, tens and tens and tens of millions of people coming of age who were going to be wanting and needing more medication. So I think that's one of those moments when you think, so they're telling me one thing, but they're telling me something else at the same time.
I'm going to give you a little indication of how old I am, okay? A little indication here. I remember when Doris Day and Rock Hudson, when they had a bedroom scene, it was the law and 1 foot had to be on the floor.
Oh, I don't remember that. I just remember Lucy and Ricky in separate beds.
It goes back. Anyway, we're starting to run out of time now. Let me ask you this. Website where we can find you at. www.TRACEYJacksonOnline.com. Okay, www.TRACEYJacksonOnline.com. Tracey, thank you so much. Now, can we buy the book there?
You can buy the book. Well, there are links to Amazon and Barnes & Noble on my website where you can buy the book for your either ebook or for your Kindle or whatever.
Wait, how's this? What's a Kindle? That was a joke. I got it. Hey, Tracey, you're delightful, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Michael. It was fun.
Good night.
Take care.
Be brave, young lovers, and follow your star. Brave and faithful and true. And cling very close to each other tonight. I've been in love like you. And I know
I'm Michael Dresser, and we'll never get old. I think. What was I saying?
In a trance. You fly down that street on the chance that you'll meet, and you meet. Not by chance. Don't cry, young lovers, whatever you do. Say don't cry because I'm alone. All my good wishes go with you tonight.
If you want to have a little pocketbook to go along with the big book, you'll get it at BeTheOneBook.com and nowhere else.
Hey, Roy Shepard, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Take care. Good night.
Good night.
There's people we'd be glad to know there. So tell me, why don't we get up and just go there? Go to those fabulous places where we long to be. Like Bangkok, Hong Kong, Paris and Venice, Tokyo and Cairo and Lisbon and London. Wonderful, fabulous places we're longing to see.